a minute and a second. We're waiting for this to join. We can start if you want to. You tell me.
We're going to start, I'm going to call this meeting to order. We will give a notice to the media. Spartanburg County School District 5 has complied with the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act in notification of the media and other interested parties and organizations and posting of the agenda. So we need to start with the approval of the agenda. Do I have any comments or discussions on the agenda today? Being that I see and hear none, we will consider it approved. I will pass this meeting over to our policy chair, Ms. Meredith Fairwood.
Thank you, Dr. Malone. This morning we have in front of us 6 different policies and administrative rules that we are going to review this morning that the administration is bringing to us. For those who are new, you'll see in your packet, we have a summary of what the changes are. And then behind that will be each of the policies, our administrative rules. And you'll be able to see that the updates or things that we're removing are in red. So the updates will either be in red or they will be marked through in red, and the new comments will be there. So what I typically do is just read an overview of the policy, the changes, give you a moment to reread through the policy or the administrative rule, and then if you have any other additional questions, Dr. Gary and his team is here to answer any of those questions. Dr. Gary, anything you want to add?
I think you summed it up very well, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's get started. Our first one is policy DKB, salary deductions. And this policy has been updated to reflect that part-time teachers working 15 to 30 hours per week qualify for vision insurance, Money Plus, and health savings accounts, in addition to health and dental insurance they were previously eligible for. So again, if you look down in policy DKB, half the way down, it notes that part-time teachers working 15 to 30 hours per week qualify for the state health, dental, including vision, Money Plus, and health savings account.
Is this something that we're just doing, or is this something that's kind of across the state, is one of these 2 things being included?
It is across the state,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
So now that we see Kevin, are we good, or do you want me to hang up my phone, or
Yes.
do you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Don't want to keep you double hearing us. Okay, thank you, Scott. Any other questions? Our next one, policy GCB, professional staff contracts and compensation. The board has included a section regarding TERI participants, and TERI stands for Teacher and Employee Retention Incentive. We believe the board should consider removing all reference to the TERI program from its policies, as the program has been discontinued and the last TERI participants were required to exit by June 30th, 2018. Additionally, the board has also included language regarding salary negotiations for non-TERI retired teachers. However, the statutory language that allows salary negotiations below the salary schedule for non-TERI teachers expired July 1st, 2020. So, Dr. Gary, this is the only policy I probably had the questions on because I'm not as familiar with what the TERI program is.
Okay.
So if you want to.
So I'll speak a little bit. There's one thing we ran across this morning that is somewhat contradictory from the summary. And it's one of the first things on there. It talks about where it says that the statute, and if I need any clarification, Mr. Jackson is here and is listed as well. But that statutory language that allowed us to negotiate salaries below for non-TERI teachers expired in July of 2020. When this TERI was officially implemented, it gave teachers the opportunity for 5 years to bank retirement, but even continue to work after that. But it also gave districts the opportunity back in 2008 or so, when times were, I don't know if it's called a depression, but when the economy went down, to negotiate retired people at a lower level. So the state gave us that option. However, that changed in 2020. Our concern, what we realized this morning that was contradictory from the summary, in here, it still has a sentence, and this has been vetted by our attorney. He went over and made some changes. But if you look down in the paragraph that starts the compensation of certified employees, that last sentence says the district may uniformly negotiate salaries below the salary schedule for non-tier retired teachers and administrators. So I know that that has expired and it says that we can't, but he has actually changed the wording and make it sound that we can. So we wanna confirm with him is that, can we still do that, although the law or the statute has changed? And we wanna go back and get clarification from him as to why that's still in there. Other than that, the rest of this, we feel pretty good about, and we can answer any questions, specific questions you have about it.
Can you let us know what he says
Well,
about that before?
yes. Yes, and what I would do is, as I've done in the past, I will send an email to you, I will let you know what the updates are, and I will put a copy of this, I will attach it to the email. And then, of course, when we approve these, when we get to the board meeting, if there are additional questions you have about it, we'll be able to answer them at that time. Any questions, other questions about it, it's.
We need to, and this may just be, obviously I'm not an English major by any means, but the first sentence says the board will attempt to pay its professional employees at a level that will attract and retain. Should we scratch hold?
Yeah, we need to take hold out.
Yeah, you scratch that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Gary, do I understand this to mean there'll be like a separate salaries table for, retired educators? Or when it says negotiate salaries, is that gonna be a per person, or will there be a separate salary schedule? If that
So-
question makes sense.
Yes, it makes great sense. So fortunately, I know since I've been here, and I don't know how long before that, we have not been in a position where we have needed to do that. But man, 2008, 2010, there were districts that said, hey, we're gonna bring retirees back. One particular district, they said, but we're gonna start them over on the salary schedule. So instead of bringing anyone in and paying them $85,000, they may have brought them in and paid them $45,000. I don't know, I wasn't here at the time, I don't know if this district did that, but they had the opportunity to do it. But what we would have to do is say, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna have to do it for all employees. It's not a matter of, well, the ones at the high school, we're gonna pay them full salary, but the elementary, we're not. We have to be consistent how we did that. That's not our plan to do that as of now.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. We'll move along to the next two policies. This is policy GCC for professional staff leaves and absences, along with policy GDC support staff leave and absences. This policy has been amended to reflect that personal leave will not be granted on days set aside for in-service education or staff development days. On the last day before or the first day after a holiday for 12-month employees, this applies only to days that fall within the instructional calendar, or during the first two or last 2 weeks of the school year, except in extenuating circumstances and with the principal or supervisor's approval. So if you turn to page 4 of the policy, the updated language is reflected about personal leave will not be granted on days set aside for in-service education or staff development days, on the last day before the first day after a holiday, or during the first 2 or last 2 weeks of the year, except in extenuating circumstances and with the principal or supervisor's approval.
Is there a need for having, maybe I should wait till everybody reads a little bit. Is there a need for having the same language, kind of the dual language of except in extenuating circumstances and with the principal supervisor's approval, as opposed to just saying with principal supervisor's approval?
Well, I think there is, because I think there should be an extenuating circumstance. One thing we do, we value the professional development that we have. And I feel that it's like oxygen. If you get it slowly, you're gonna die slowly. If you don't get it all, you're gonna die quickly. And I think this is a breathing organization, and we need that. When teachers don't come in for those professional development days, or they request off, or before holidays or whatever, there are lots of reasons, and some are extenuating. And to be honest, it's rare that we don't approve those opportunities, and I don't know if it still has, but it has exceptions, like my child's graduating from college, my child is moving into college. There's a funeral and I'm gonna need an additional day because it's in California. We have done those things, but sometimes those aren't the reasons that people have, they aren't extenuating. It's things that they could potentially do on another day.
And I should have clarified, I guess my real question, I get it I get it for teachers, I think sometimes, I know in my business, for safety training, for example, we gotta make our guys do it, right? They don't wanna be there, they'd rather be out doing other things, they don't wanna do that, they enjoy the work part. So I kinda get that with teachers, I think you would, I guess my question was more for support staff, in that, you know, because I've heard from support staff is, we don't have anything to do those days. And we're either finding busy work or we don't have necessarily some, I mean, because your support staff encompasses a lot of people, a lot of different people.
So, support staff on an in-service day or before a holiday, I don't know why they wouldn't have much to do. I know we had conversations in reference to, that's why I said with the exception of like the summer. We ran into, but we still use, they can still use vacation days. The only people who qualify for vacation days are 12-month employees. One of the conversations we had was, for example, our finance team. If it snows and the payday's coming up, if it snows, if it's ice, no matter what it is, those ladies are up here working. So the only time they feel comfortable sometimes taking a day, maybe the day before or the day after the 4th of July, but that doesn't really impact instruction. And it may be the same for maintenance, so we still want to give those people that opportunity. We talked long and hard, understanding that, so which is why we made the change to vacation days versus personal days, because it does, that part of it would not impact teachers doing some more. Did I answer your question?
It does, yeah. But I think, you know.
If not, you can, I mean, please re-ask it, I'm asking again differently, I want to make sure I address it, so.
From the support staff perspective, if I've got those things taken care of, what do they care, what I use my personal days for, would be the comment. And limiting those times if I'm not doing the.
So, okay, so that's why you're saying,
Yeah.
would a support staff need an extenuating circumstance?
There you go, that's where I'm at, so it's, to me, if the support staff has said to the principal, hey, I got, you know, the school is clean, I don't have anything else to do here, I'd like to take a personal day before this, but, well, and the principal says, that's an extenuating, do you have an extenuating circumstance to be off then? I don't know that, I get the reason for wanting to make sure that teachers are here and for that, but I just don't know, and that's why I think that verbiage is limiting, but.
Are you saying
So
it
you're saying
should
just
just
take it
say with the principal or
Yes.
supervisor's approval?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought, but I don't know.
Like I've said before, the board has approved these policies. If that's something that you guys are consistent about, I mean, either way, it's gotta go to the supervisor to be approved.
Yeah.
Ms. Faulkner, you have a question?
We have varied levels of principals.
Yeah, we do, or the supervisor, it's not always.
That's right, we have
Maybe
varied levels of
maintenance,
supervisors
yeah.
and principals, and
Yeah.
some of them will say, yeah, I consider that extenuating, and I'm okay with you not being here. And other ones say, you didn't present, you know, you don't have a death in the family, or whatever, and so, no, I can't. That's all.
And I have a question, it's a little different. Because we have a fall break this year, is that considered a holiday? Because people might try to take those 2 days before the fall break to get the whole week. Is that considered a holiday? Because it's technically not a holiday, but it is considered a holiday in our definition.
So we did put in, one of the next policies, we did list, holidays, October fall break and February midwinter break.
I saw
in
that,
there. But that is specifically for the days that 12-month employees get off.
It's not a holiday, but spring break isn't a holiday either, but it's a break from school, and maybe is that how we're looking at it?
Well, and spring vacation is listed on this as well.
I'm just worried that people will say, well, it's not a holiday.
You're
I
saying
can
change
ask
the
off.
verbiage, maybe a school break or something? 'Cause it's not a holiday.
Yeah.
It's a break right here.
And we have that listed under holidays, correct?
Right.
And the
So-
reason being is, one of the things we talked about, several months back is one of the challenges we have, or just days off. It's common before, oftentimes common before or after, that we have several people out on a day. If there's a 4-day weekend, and why not make it a 5-day weekend or 6? And what we've run into in the past is difficulty finding substitute teachers and those types of things. And our attendance, the number of our absentee rates have been much higher. So one of the things we wanted to do by changing this schedule to give more breaks during the year, so they wouldn't need that. A side effect may be, okay, now I got a 4-day holiday, let's make it a 5-day holiday, which is why we listed that.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answers your question. We understand that some people may want to request that, but typically that would probably be a very high absentee day. And sometimes we've had to, take a class at the elementary school with 20 kids, put 6 of them here, put 6 here, 6 here, and it makes it very difficult when those high absence days. That's why it's there.
And I guess maybe don't think of the term holiday like Christmas, July 4th, New Year's. Think of it as the British are going on holiday. They're going on vacation, right? Like, we're going on holiday. So I see what you're saying. It's not a technical holiday or break.
So
And
let
it's
me ask you,
listed
for that one,
further down.
should we maybe list it as holidays and breaks?
That could
I think
encompass
that
all
would
of
be,
it.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that would be more
On that particular
clarified.
policy, we'll do that, holidays and breaks.
And
So
breaks.
people aren't so nitpicky with the
Because
verbiage, right?
sometimes they can be.
I know,
That's a good point, thank you.
I know.
Ultimately, it
Exactly.
does come back to safety. Like I always think about when we're trying to staff substitutes and there are no substitutes, and then
Yeah.
for a building leader to have to decide how to keep kids safe
Yeah.
with 30 people out that
Well,
day.
and last year,
It's
we,
hard.
before y'all joined, we were having a lot of trouble with that. And
Mhm.
so we were having way more subs and so we're trying to figure out how to
Well, and
best
we-
staff the
We
district.
changed the amount of personal days
Right.
that we gave them, which we wanted to, but then the effect of it was,
Yeah.
we're having a problem with that. So are we changing?
Yes, so where is
So,
that?
okay, so just to review, I think we talked about moving the words extenuating circumstances and keeping with the supervisor's approval. And then we'll talk about the changes to the other policy with the breaks when we get to that one.
Can we talk about that a little bit longer? That
Okay, sure.
extenuating circumstances,
Yeah, and I'm not hung up on that, I'm just,
I,
What are your thoughts?
I like it.
I like
I
it
like it
too.
too.
I think it makes it clear and it's not just, a principal's decision that,
Cause that would
Vague,
have a lot of
it's vague.
variance.
so, yeah, it should be extenuating if we've got certain days that are hot days and how many employees are in the district.
Oh, about 15 minutes.
Yeah, we don't want them on that day off. It becomes a safety issue.
I absolutely agree, I think we should keep it in there.
But I do think, like, that sounds like a specific situation. If someone is not sure what to do on a professional day, that almost seems like
yeah. As I said,
Situation to talk to
I
the
see it
building
for
leader
the,
about.
I see it
It's
for
not common.
the teachers and the professional, the support staff.
You know,
So,
Give them some options and some latitude, because
that's
they
the
get a
issue,
lot less
yeah.
of that.
so
Practice, it seems.
this is what I recommend. We still possibly play with the wording of, I don't know how to do it, but we'll take a look at the wording of it to impact that part. But just for clarification, are we in consensus to leave extenuating circumstances in? Okay. Thank you. And I get your point. I'll think of a way, we'll try to talk about how we can wordsmith it. So, those that, I think it's a concern if anybody's having to come to work and have nothing to do. And that may be something to look into.
Can I ask a
Sure.
question? So we have two different policies. We have professional and then we have support staff. Could we, because you're basically talking about the in-service days,
That-
could we just remove in-service from support staff? Is that, because that's what you're talking about, is that our extra, our people that do not have a classroom and are not participating in, professional development on those days,
Right.
would it be okay for them to be out on a staff development day, in-service or staff development day?
I guess where I'm at is, in practice, if these are their personal days, it's not like we're giving them an extra day off. If it's in their interest to take their personal days on the days when we need them a little bit less, then let's don't make it hard for them to do that. That's kind of where I saw it as, you know, for those people. If they see that as, okay, we're not gonna have kids here today, I'm not gonna have to worry about, you know, a janitor, for example.
Right.
This is a better day for me to be here, and I can use up my personal days that I
Yep.
can only do so much with anyway.
So we could remove that from.
That was my
We just
thought.
do the support staff.
Give them a little bit more time to.
And I say this, and using that example, if kids are not in the school, you'd be surprised how much more
they get
janitor
done.
can really get done with floors and cleaning, that kind of stuff. I think and we can go back, there are other examples that you would say, oh yeah, that's an excellent example. So we'll look at that, and depending on which policy, whether it's a certified or the non-certified, may depend upon how we word it.
Yeah.
Well, and any changes that we recommend, we will send back to you in email form before we put them in the portal, so you can take a look at it, and if there are any questions, let us know.
Because Ms. Lister, what you're talking about is the day that children will not be in the building.
Correct.
So then we're not worried about safety and staffing and
Correct, correct.
substitutes.
So if you just remove the in-service, you're still leaving before or after a holiday, which kids would be here, and you're still leaving the first, 2 weeks, last 2 weeks of school, which kids are in the building.
Are we having a big issue with people not attending, or, I mean, what's
Yeah.
the driver of
Absolutely.
adding this to it? The only thing I would caution, and more to the board here, is just gotta be careful how much restrictions we put on our teachers. I mean, to Scott's point, these are personal days, you know, and I recognize, you know, the administration wants to have teachers there for personal development, but, I'm just afraid we continue to restrict our teachers and how they can use their day, so I don't know what the solution is, and I understand what we're trying to do, but, that's just a little bit of a concern from my perspective, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good discussion. Any other questions? Moving on to the next administrative role, GCCR, which is for the professional staff leaves and absences, and administrative role GDCR, which is for support staff leaves and absences. This administrative role has been updated to reflect that approved leave of an employee caring for a family member in serious condition terminates on the date of the death of the family member. Also, the term husband and wife has been changed to spouse. And you can find these updates, the first one at the top of page 4, where it's been added that approved leave for the care of a family member, serious health condition terminates on the date of death. And then, on page 7 at the top, changing if, the verbiage husband or wife to spouses. You'll see the same updates in the support center. Yes,
So
John?
how long do teachers or support staff get? How many days off with the death?
For FMLA, you can get up to 12 weeks, 90 days. I'm sorry, I may have answered that wrong.
If a teacher's mother dies,
Oh, they can do up to 8 days of bereavement.
okay, okay.
And
But that's different from FMLA.
Yes,
the FMLA is if they're missing days to care for that parent.
Mhm.
So they can get up to 12 weeks. But if the parent passes, they can still get the bereavement, but the family medical leave is what stops, and they change to their bereavement days after the death is what it is.
okay, thank you.
Am I correct that the bereavement days come out of their personal days, or is it a separate pool?
It comes out of their sick leave.
Okay, has the district considered doing a separate pool that, like, everyone gets a couple of, like, 3 bereavement days annually that are not part of their accrual days, they're a separate allocation. And if you don't use them, you lose them, and the next year, they're there again.
Not since I've been here, we have not
Yeah.
had that discussion, no. That was your question, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if that's something y'all had considered doing or not. Because a lot of times if you're caring for a sick family member, you've exhausted all of your days and you're already not bringing home a salary. And then when the family member passes, you have no days and no option for any of the rest of it. So having those 3 days of bereavement that have nothing to do with your regular sick can be very beneficial to that person.
So we have not visited, I know, since I've been here, and if we want to discuss in the future adding a policy, something like that, we can have that discussion.
Yeah, it's a separate issue.
Yeah, it could have some benefits at the time. There's some things system-wide we would need to consider the impact of what it would be. But we can have those, we decide as a policy we're looking to, or add it to an existing policy or something like that.
We're adding this language, is this language that was left out of something else concerning, regarding the FMLA?
Yes, that was not included
It
in
just
there
is not included
before.
previously, and
Correct,
now we
yes.
need to include it?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the same language that's in the federal,
Yes.
I guess, okay, in the state, okay.
Any other questions on these two administrative roles?
What's the driving factor for changing from husband-wife to spouses?
Well, I mean, obviously, husband and wife will cover spouses, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's situations where a husband or a wife is not the spouse, if that makes sense.
A husband might have a husband. or a
Yeah, he's
wife,
still a
yeah.
husband, I guess, if classified as such by the state, right? And that's
Yeah.
where, I guess in line with just keeping with whatever verbiage the state is recognizing as.
When you're right, when you put it that way, it does cover, it will still cover them, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the driving factor was in the change.
That's the why.
Michaela said that the language was referenced in PEBA's language,
Mhm.
so that's why she pulled it over to make sure that it matched what was in PEBA's guidelines.
Clear, good enough, thank you.
The next policy, GCD, professional staff vacations and holidays, as well as policy GDD for support staff vacation and holidays. This highlights what we were just discussing earlier, that this policy has been amended to include the October fall break and the February mid-winter break. So we had a discussion about could we change this to maybe say holidays / breaks.
Yes.
Okay, and our last one today, yes.
Can I go back to GCCR for just a minute? What about families, that live together, that aren't married, and, the child's dad dies, but they're not technically married, going back to the spouse thing there. If a child's dad dies and is not married to the mom, and the mom's a teacher in the district, where's that covered in here?
Like a partner.
A partner, yeah.
But this, so,
I mean, I know
understanding-
people that live together that aren't married, but that have 3 kids together, right? So I'm just wondering how that's covered.
With death, it lists out, does it have partner in there?
I don't think it has that written, partner doesn't have that term written. So what you, okay, when you first said a student has, so obviously we're talking about a student, so you're still talking about a teacher that has lived with someone for a while, and that person dies, what I would need to study, I don't know what South Carolina says about common law marriage and all that, and I really just don't know the answer to that, I would have to research that to speak more on it, but I can ask that question though.
Well, I'm just, my child's dad died, and they've got to start taking care of the child, or or step in, you know, so. I don't know, limiting it to spouses just, it doesn't cover everybody, you know. Just something to think about.
Thanks, Jeff. The last one, is a, new policy, policy IJND, around artificial intelligence responsible use. This policy is being adopted to guide the responsible and ethical use of artificial intelligence in the district's instructional program. It recognizes AI as a valuable education tool when used appropriately under teacher supervision, while ensuring compliance with privacy protections, academic integrity standards, and state and federal laws. The policy also prohibits misuse such as cheating, harassment, discrimination, or sharing confidential information.
Is there a, do we pull this from something that's already been
For the most part,
published, per se?
There's no
Or
doubt.
should we draft this ourselves?
No, we did not draft it ourselves, and Dr. Rogers, this came from the school board's recommended policy, School Board Association, was it, or?
Yes, sir. It came from South Carolina School Boards Association. This is their model policy. And we did consult with our attorney, who advised us to have the board adopt a policy so that we can begin working on a framework of really how it will be practically used and regulated in our classroom. So this would kind of be the backbone of where we head next. This is the first step.
I mean, the biggest concern is probably cheating, right?
That is a concern.
I mean, AI makes me a lot smarter than I really am. It really does, so that's the biggest concern.
So Dr. Rogers, do you see us having to implement like they do in colleges where you have to run things through, or the teachers can run things through and detect how much percentage of your work submitted was AI written?
That's an option. The problem with those programs is that it doesn't catch everything, and, everybody's trying to sell those programs, so it's a competition to sell and beat, right? And so it's whether you buy into that or not. We've talked more about, really, once we have this in place, instructing our teachers about how we really want them to use AI in the classroom, and being intentional with children to say, we've even talked to make it really simple, a red light, yellow light, green light. So on this assignment, we don't want you using AI at all. Or this assignment, you can use AI, but we only want you to use it to generate some initial thought. But then when you go to work, it really needs to be your work and your ideas. And on this assignment, go with it. We want you to fully use AI, and we want to teach you more how to use AI, to use it as a better tool to enhance the experience of a product that you produce and make. So I think it has we have the opportunity to really go beyond just that piece of it. And we look forward to gathering a group of people together to develop that. We have a bunch of ideas, but again, our attorney said, we talked about doing that maybe first, and upon the attorney's advice, he says, let's get this framework in place first, and get the policy in place first before we develop a framework.
I like that thought process, Dr. Rogers, and I'll tell you just from one, the policy's coming here, the herd's already out of the fence, right? They're already using it. My son's already had an assignment that the teacher was very intentional, like what you said, Dr. Rogers, and it was, you can use AI for your front cover part of this project to give it some pop and some zing and all those other things, but don't use it for any of the other parts of this project. And so I think that's a good approach, because they're going to use it. A couple of other things that, before I shut up, is I guess we need to be intentional, like we are with all things, in how this is included into all of our handbooks and things. I think this says in here, our policy will be posted. Well, we're gonna have to do this like we do with cell phones and everything else, and especially because it is already in practice, and now we're catching up, and make sure that we're getting that included intentionally in handbooks, and make sure everybody is on board with what we're doing. And then the other thing comes from my college-age daughter, which is talking about AI at college, and she says, the problem with it, at least at that level, is, in her words, no one can write anymore, so if you have good writing, they automatically assume that it's come through from AI, right? And so, I guess, we need to be very thoughtful about how we do the discipline and reporting part of this, and that we're not punishing those that maybe write different than what the computer's picking up on, but then also limit it and enforce it strongly. So that's
correct, yeah.
my thoughts on the, as written.
Students can access AI, ChatGPT with their laptops today?
They have magic school.
No, we block, certain platforms for AI that we feel are not a safe space for students. Currently, we have, we call it kind of a garden platform, some safe gardens for students to dwell in. We have Magic School that's a purchased AI product, that's been vetted, through all of our systems and, gives us assurances of safety. We have, a Panorama that allows some work with an AI feature in developing, instructional plans for students, and that's more for a teacher use. But we do have ChatGPT available for administrators. They're using that some in their work, but not for children.
But they are using it on their computers at home and.
I'm
on their
sure they
parents'
are.
computers.
That one and more.
Yeah, I think we need to guard against, we talked about this before, is shielding ourselves from, we've got it all covered for what we're using at school, and then everything that the real world's going on outside of that, so.
Speaking of teachers, do we think that in the future there should be a staff and teacher policy for acceptable use of AI in the classrooms?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
And we wanted to get this policy out, and whether that will be addressed in a further policy or in a framework, we don't know. But by all means, it has to be, you're correct.
I also would recommend, I was at FETSI, the Future of Education Technology Conference, earlier this year, and one of the things that we talked about was how rapidly all of this is evolving. Do you think it might be wise to include in this policy that this policy will be reviewed annually, so that it makes sure that it comes back up to our attention, so that we can revise it as things change and it doesn't get forgotten about? I mean, and that may not be necessary, because we may all be like, oh, we gotta fix that policy.
I don't know if it needs to be put in it. Unfortunately, we have changed policies in March and came back and made a change in October. And there was nothing the policy said, you gotta change it annually. Something may have changed with the law, something may have changed with the implementation, or we just may have missed something when we wrote the policy. So I don't know if it necessarily needs to be in there, but as these changes come forward, we could be back in October saying, hey, we wanna make this change, even if we don't put that in there.
The only reason that I would, I hear exactly what you're saying, we've changed enough policies because of, on advice from attorneys and things annually anyway, but the only thing that makes me maybe agree with Ms. Ford of being intentional about it, for future boards even, not us, because we're all gonna do the right things in the future if we have to anyway, right? But if you remember last year, we reviewed our internet service one, and reading that policy that was in there sounded like my grandfather from
Right.
1945 wrote it, so it does slip with all the other business, and I think whatever we can do to make sure that we keep those things up front as they're
Well-
changing. Like Jeff just whispered a minute ago,
Yeah.
this thing.
This may be 6 or 8 pages here in a year. so
Yeah, that's right.
It's gonna continue to grow.
Yeah.
So I give it 6 months, and it'll be that long.
Maybe regular. We will add a statement, something to the effect of reviewing this policy regularly. Now, it may not come to the board annually,
Yeah.
because it might not be a
Yes,
need.
yeah.
But if any changes are done, so we can change, we look at words to put in here somewhere, that constant review of this policy is needed because of the, constantly changing world of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And, but what we'll do, when we add that, we will send that back to you, soon to review.
Thank you.
So in summary, Dr. Gary and Ms. Lister, I have that policy GCB, the professional staff, and compensation that we'll need to have an update there on the statutory language. The third one, policy GCC, professional staff, we're looking at the extenuating circumstances or possible updated language. The fifth one, policy GCD, professional staff vacations update to add holiday plus winter breaks. And then our last one, IJND, look at possibly adding a statement around review.
Also, I wanna go back to what you asked Jeff. If you look at policy, or, GCCR, on the second page, leave entitlements, to care for a parent, spouse, child, sibling, mother-in-law, father-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and any other person living in the home who is dependent upon the employee for care, who has a serious health condition.
Okay, thank you.
Robert pointed that out to us.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Gary and administration? Anything else from you?
I don't, thank you for your feedback. We'll get to work on these changes and possibly today, but probably no later than Monday, so we'll try to have one for you guys to review.
So in our board meeting, we'll basically go through the same way we've just done this now, and Sam will drive the screen and we'll flip through these so those in the audience can see the updates. But you will have at your desk a packet of these materials that are updated, as well as we'll share them on the screen. And we'll go exactly through the way we just did it today.
And as a reminder, and you may have picked up on this already, this was uploaded to your portal, I think maybe Tuesday or Wednesday this week. And we try to do that in advance, so you have the opportunity to make those notes if you have questions when you come in, so.
And this is why we have these meetings. You see, it's been 45 minutes, so we're not doing this, all these questions at the board meeting, so.
Unless some changes, we'll vote on this next board meeting.
Yes, correct.
March 23rd.
Yep. Anything else, Meredith?
No, that's all from
All
our
good?
policy committee.
All right, this meeting's adjourned at 8:42 a.m. Bye, Kevin.